Hello, everyone. Today's Thursday, January 15th, and this is week 11, day 3 of India Evening and Weekend Platoon. Today, we're going to be covering back-end third-party APIs. But before we do, I'd like to just go over just a brief review of what you should have learned up to this point, like I normally do. Um, so let's get started with a quick review. We'll allocate a little bit of time to school API 5 and 6. I know we had a little bit of trouble with that. And then we'll move on to back-end third-party APIs, which should be pretty straightforward because we already covered third-party APIs. This is just how you call them instead on the front end, you call them on the back end. So that's what we're going to cover today. So before we get started, let's do a quick review. What's an API?
Application programming interface. I know you're not looking for that, but yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah, you said nothing. You said a definition. Give me your definition for an API.
Um, it's an interface where we do programming.
Kind of. It is kind of an interface, though. It allows what to talk to what.
They help logging.
It allows you to get or send information from one computer to another,
Yeah, that is good. The protocol, what are the two basic transactions of an API? Logan?
like a get and a request.
That's pretty close. A request and a response, right?
Okay, yeah.
The request doesn't necessarily just have to be a get, right? A request can be a post. I can post to a database. That's also a kind of request, right? So don't get caught up that always has to be. A lot of them are gets, right? But not all of them are. Okay. When you fill out a form and you send like your email and your address and all that stuff to Amazon, so you can ship you your giant box of Lacoste cologne, right? That's a post. You're posting to their database. Okay, cool. So the basic transactions of an API, we got them. There's just a request and a response, right? Is there different kinds of requests? Absolutely. Is there different kinds of responses? Yeah. It could be a successful response, right? Or it could give you a 401 or a 403 or a 500 error, right? So just like there's a bunch of requests, there's a bunch of responses. Okay, so an API, right, consists of just requests and responses, right? So an API typically allows one application to talk to another, one computer to talk to another, but it's typically an outsider trying to communicate with kind of like an insider. Does that make sense? Let's think of all users, right? All our users, right? We try to communicate with a server, and a server is just somebody else's what?
Endpoint.
No, not necessarily. It can be an update, but it doesn't have to be. A server, just in
Computer?
layman's term, is somebody else's what?
Computer.
Yeah, it's just somebody else's computers. But notice this now. So this is really important here. Typically, a company that builds some kind of product doesn't let you communicate with their computer willy-nilly, right? Typically, you have to go through some kind of endpoint that typically authenticates and authorizes what you can do on their computer. Yes? If I try to ping a server that has Squid Games on it from Netflix, it's not going to let me hit it directly, is it? I'm going to have to hit some endpoint that's going to do what before I can watch some Squid Games? Yeah, but you're not answering my question though, Yi. You're on the right track. I'm going to have to hit what? Yeah, I'm going to have to hit some kind of API that's going to authenticate and authorize me to do X, Y, and Z, right? Have you guys heard APIs described as the server of a restaurant? That's a pretty popular analogy. Has anyone heard that? Give me 1 second there. I cannot find this. No one's heard that, really? That's like the most popular one. Okay, so just imagine you go to a restaurant, right? You sit down. If you want, let's say you go to Texas Roadhouse and you want the 20-ounce ribeye, you don't go back there and start making your own ribeye, do you? No, you don't. You talk to typically a waiter, right? And you tell the waiter, hey, I want the delicious 20-ounce ribeye with a baked potato and the grilled shrimp, right? Give me an extra plate because I'm going to split it with my significant other, right? That's what an API is, right? So it's this kind of middleman between you and what you need, right? So think of the user as you at a restaurant, think of the waiter as the API, right? And think the kitchen as the database. You can't just go in there and get whatever you want, right? You need to go through the waiter, right? And the waiter can do a whole host of different things, right? It's going to take your order. It's going to take your request. Yes. What if you go to Texas Roadhouse and you request a Big Mac? What is the waiter going to tell you?
404.
Yeah. Hey, we do this. We don't have that. We don't have that. That's what the waiter's for, right? It does a lot of different things, right? It's this middleware, right? It handles all the transactions, all these requests and responses. If I go to Texas Roadhouse and I order my 20-ounce ribeye, the waiter, the API takes my order. They have a 20-ounce ribeye. They're going to get it medium well, just the way that I like it. And after 20 or 30 minutes, the waiter is going to come back with a response. In this scenario, the response is what?
Probably a 200.
Yeah, a 200 with my 20-ounce ribeye, right? That's how it works. Cool. Django is just a back-end framework. Have they talked about ORMs yet? I think I saw it in your README for yesterday, maybe, or the day before. Have they talked about ORMs?
I think briefly.
Yeah, so DRF, Django REST Framework, is an ORM, right? It's an object relational mapper, but that's just an acronym. Does anybody know what it does? I think conceptually, I think this is part of where some of your confusion is coming from. What does this do? What does this DRF do? It maps what to what?
Python to SQL.
Yeah, Python to SQL. Now, this is probably the most important thing that I have to say right now before we start working on School API 5 and 6 right here. It maps your Python objects, the classes, the methods, everything to SQL, right? If I wanted to select everything in my Pokemon app in my Postgres database, what is the SQL command? If I wanted to select everything from my Poke database, what's the SQL command? The database is called Poke database. How do I get everything from it? What's the SQL command? It's really easy. I'm not trying to trick you.
Select all from the database.
Select star from database, right? Or Poke database.
Yeah.
Notice how you don't write any of that when you use the DRF. What is the DRF equivalent of what we just said? What would it be? You don't have to be perfect, but tell me. This tells me that you know that, hey, this is a mapping to it. It would be what?
The dot object with no filter.
Not quite, but you're close. It'd be dot data dot all method call. Yes? Does everyone understand that? Look at your code right now. Do a search for dot all parentheses. That is That is the equivalent of doing a select star in SQL. But because you are using DRF, it makes it easier. Effectively, it's an abstraction layer, right? That's why it's so important that you understand the technology at its core level. Because if you understand it at its core level, that you understand that anything like a level above it's going to be an abstraction, and then you can even have an abstraction above that, and then an abstraction above that, and then an abstraction above that, right? Think about when before you knew what programming was, and you just submitted a form on the internet. You never really thought about, hey, this is a post request to this API that's going to validate the information, it's going to send it, it's going to hold it to a database, and then I can log in or whatever. You don't think about it like that, right? You just think, oh, I just, submitted a form or whatever, right? But now that you are a dev, right, you can start thinking about it in these different layers, right? And how really what most people do on an everyday basis, right? They don't have to deal with the nitty-gritty of how the application works. They just care what? Normal everyday people just care that the application does what?
Works.
Yeah, that it works. That's it. They don't need to know anything else, right? That's why normal people don't use the CLI. They don't need to. Why? I can just click on things. I don't need to know anything else. It does what it's supposed to do, right? I check my email, I upload my steak to Facebook and get 30 likes on it, and that's it. And they're happy. Okay, but for you, it matters as a dev. Okay, so good. Nicholas says select star from database. Yes. And then the ORM version of it, the DRF version of it would just be, right? Whatever data dot all parentheses. And parentheses tells us, right, that that's just a what?
A function call?
Yep. Yeah, that's it. It's running a function call. That's what your backend code is running. It's fetching that data from the database. There you go. Scott Walker, object.students.all. That's it. Right? That's the exact same thing. Now, if you understand, right, that that's all DRF is, it's a mapping of your Python classes onto SQL, then you're in good shape. Despite the fact that maybe your school API 5, school API 6 didn't work out too good. As long as you understand that right now, I think you'll be able to understand the rest of it. Questions about that? All right. On the Django ORM, if I say something like Pokemon.objects.filter, and I pass in name user input, what's happening there? It's just the equivalent of what SQL command?
Where?
Yeah, and it's effectively a filter, right? Hey, filter all the Pokemon where name equals Pikachu or whatever, right? That's all it is. So if you understand that, you're in good shape. All right, touched on that. We touched on the API, we touched on ORM, just in case you see it on the README. Let's go. I just kind of want to do a little exercise on how you would deliver this. Jake will make me want to. No, that's funny. Okay. Let's just do like a document real quick. And then we'll, if I can even open this. There you go. We're going to go through just the steps of building this API, just kind of on a broad level. And then I'm going to give you guys some work time before we get started on third-party APIs. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in short order, you're going to get a little bit of time to kind of go back to 5 and 6 and get it working if you haven't. I know that some people asked, I can't remember who it was, asked for a slight review. So we're going to do that right now and then give you a little bit more time on it because I think third-party APIs on the back end are pretty easy. So we don't need the entire class for that. All right. So if I give you this assignment, and I am going to give you this assignment, and I told you, hey, build a DRF API. Let's walk through the 8, 9, 10 steps to doing it. Just right here. I'm actually not going to write it in the code. I'm just going to write some pseudocode. All right. So what's the first thing you want to do? So you're going to get this. So if you're starting from 0 and you're going to clone that branch, right? Clone day 4 or whatever, or even day 5. You're going to start here. What's the first thing you want to do? I just cloned it. I am going to create a Django API using DRF. Walk me through the steps. And I can drop this in the Slack channel after. What's step 1?
Identify what you're actually going to be getting.
Not yet. I'm starting from the very, very beginning. I told you, hey, if I told you right now, hey, build a, I kept thinking Pokemon because that's what we're using, but hey, build a cat API. And I give you a bunch of data on different kinds of cats, right? And I ask you, hey, build it from scratch. How are you going to do it? I just give you a,
Pip install Django.
okay, there we go. Okay, so let's expand on that. Install all
Requirements.
all requirements, or I'm just going to call them dependencies, right? I.e., let's do Django REST frame. I think that's what it is, right? Django REST framework. Let me check my requirements here. Yeah, that's what it is. Django REST, etc. Right? We're going to download all that, right? Then what are we going to do?
Don't we need the virtual environment first? What do you say from 0, right?
Yes. Okay. So build virtual env. Perfect. Now install all dependencies. Perfect. Now what?
Gonna start a Django project.
Build Django project. Cool. Then
Build the Django app.
build Django app. Then
Add the app to the settings file.
there we go. You need to add your app to settings.py, right? Yes. Now, some of these are not going to be in exactly perfect order, but right now this is going to work. So good enough. Good enough for government work. All right. So there we go. We built MVV. We grabbed the dependencies that we needed, right? Build a Django project. We built an app on it. Can you have multiple apps in a project?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Then you add it to your settings, and then you create what? This is the next piece right here. You need to create what?
The database.
Not quite. Not yet.
I mean, if it's from 0, I believe it's Docker Compose, and we need to have some information in there.
No.
Okay.
You actually don't necessarily need the Docker Compose, right? It just makes things easier. Right? But let's say you just wanted to create an API right now. I haven't actually talked anything about Docker yet. Can you build it? Can you build this API without it being Dockerized?
Never done it, but since you're saying
You
it,
have. You have. So
hmm.
I'll ask the question again. Can you build an API without it being Dockerized?
Then yes.
Yes, you can. Right? Doesn't have to be in the, can it be in a Docker container? Absolutely. Doesn't have to be. All right. So don't worry about Docker right now. The next thing you're going to do is, I'll give you a hint. You're going to create some kind of data structure. So
the
you're gonna,
models.
yep, create the models. Then you're going to create the how do you translate JSON object or Python objects to JSON? You have to do what?
Is that the serializer?
Serializers then. So we have our models, we have our serializers that converts Python objects to JSON. Perfect. Now it'd be really cool if we could see it. So now we need to build what?
The views and URLs.
Create views, right? And you jumped ahead, but yes, create URLs. Why do you create views before you create URLs? Anyone? Actually, the order doesn't really necessarily matter here, but it is going to matter if you try to view something or you try to go to a URL whose view you haven't built out, right? Again, the order here, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good order. If you mix up one of the two, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but just know that you try to go to a URL where the view hasn't been built, obviously it's going to be not found, right? So you're going to get an error. Very good. You guys are actually doing really great. All right, so we built our thing, we added the settings, created a model, serializers, views, URLs. Now what do you want to do? This one I'm going to give you because I don't think you're going to give it to me. And I kind of want to check if my URLs work. So what would you throw in here on step 10 if I gave you that hint? It'd be cool if I check those URLs, make sure they work.
Yeah, you start your server,
Yeah, start server and do what?
test it.
Yeah, test it with Postman or Thunder Client, or the built-in Postman, right? Built-in Postman extension on VS Code. I guess that exists now, extension on VS Code. Cool. There you go. Ooh, everything works. Awesome. Now what?
Maybe some validators.
Where would you want to put that in there?
Probably before the serializer.
Serializer? You could, absolutely. Would this work without validators though?
Yes.
Yes, but you run the risk of what?
What do you mean?
If you don't have validators of your data, you run the risk of what?
Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out, right? Possibly breaking your app or getting some kind of weird error, inconsistent functionality. So yeah, you could add validators, but no, if you left them out and didn't add them till the end and you just ran like one URL, right? And you just flushed out that URL all the way through, you could come back and add it later, right? Again, this is not the be all end all list, but I want to give you something that, hey, to look at. And this is the rough idea of the path you should be taking. All right, so 12 is good. So we have start server, we check it. Now what do we want to do? Now, what if our view needs a little bit of detail? What do we want to do? What if it shows of 10 Pokemon, but I just want Pikachu? I need a what?
Well, I need to filter the Pokemon, right? If I'm searching for that
Kind
Pokemon.
of, yeah. You kind of have to filter, right? But here, let's create detailed views. Detailed views that instead of a list of all 10 Pokemon, it gives me just Pikachu, right? And here it is going to be a filter, right? You're going to filter by ID or name or something like that, right? Whatever your ORM does, right? Instead of getting all, I want to get just Pikachu, right? And that Pikachu is going to have a very unique what? Not only unique view, but a unique what?
URL.
Yep. Why? How do you know that, Logan? Is that Logan or Nicholas? Who was that?
It was me, Logan.
All right. How do you know that it's going to have a unique URL if it's just Pikachu and not the whole all 10 Pokemon?
Because you've got to end up somewhere that's going to display just Pikachu.
Yeah, exactly. Right? If, for example, give me 1 second. Let's see if I can pull this up. This doesn't work. It's not working. Okay, I'll load up. Doesn't matter. I'll show you anyway. All right, here we go. Look at my URL here. This is an example of, I think this is the end of School API 5. Look at my URL. I'm going to ask you some broad questions here by just looking at the URL. This is going to display information about what? Just based on my URL, you know that if about what entity? You're getting too specific here. A school, right? I actually don't have any of these views flushed out here, right? So if I went to this URL, what would this show me? Hypothetically, if this was working.
Cool.
A bunch of information about some school, yes? All right. But if I was to get more specific and I hit this endpoint, it wouldn't show me all that information about the school anymore. It would actually, like an onion, right? Drill down and give me the information about what about that school.
It's
Dude.
not on the views.
No, you're not answering my question. Now, if I went to this URL that's a little bit more specific, it wouldn't show me information about the school. It would show me information about that school's what? That school's what? Look at the URL. Look at the last part. Students, right? It wouldn't show me about the school anymore. It drilled down and say, hey, give me information about the students. What if I did something like this? This is not going to work. But what if I went to the URL, B1 school students.1? Here it doesn't work. But what do you think this is going to display if it did work?
Student with the ID 1.
Yep, that's it. So now you went even more narrow, right? First, you went to the school URL that shows you information about the school, right? But you don't really want information about the school. You really want, because if you went to the school URL, you could possibly get information about the extracurricular activities or, the staff or anything like that. But I don't want any of that. I want the students. All right, so then I go to the students, a more specific URL. All right, now it gives me a bunch of information about students. But if I keep going deeper and I go 1, maybe my website is configured with, hey, whoever has the ID 1 of the students, give me that person's information. And that's what this is. So when you go to your list, that's what detailed views are, right? Once you create your views and your URLs, those are broad, but how deep do you want to go, right? Let's do an example. Let's do Craigslist. Well, I hope it doesn't show anything crazy. I haven't been in Craigslist in a while. You can see it on any website that you go to. This is a really good one. At least I haven't been to it in a long time. Let's hope it's still good. What's the main URL, guys?
Craigslist.org.
Yeah. Hey, can anyone tell me how it knew I was in Austin?
Your IP address location.
Yeah, it pulled without my consent, pulled my IP location and just automatically took me there. And knows I'm in Austin. All right, cool. I go here. Let's go automotive. What do you notice about the URL?
So is that search areas and surround Austin and surrounding area too, with probably like a setting for show thumbnails because you have
Yeah.
4 buttons up there.
Yeah. Notice this is a detail URL, right? It's not the base URL of https austincraiglist.org. All of a sudden it knows that I'm in the view search, right? So the view search drops this down, right, as a list. So that search. And then here it gives me more information on exactly what it's showing. This other part, yes, it shows some thumbnails of images, right? But the search is specifically saying automotive services, and that's what the OOS search. OOS is. That's actually the end of the URL for all intended purposes. It says, hey, go to the Austin Craigslist org, go to the view search, but on search, display automated services, AOS for Craigslist is short for automated services. And then it goes into some query parameters, search to thumb zero, which is what's known as just query parameters or metadata that says to the website, show it in this manner. But the URL ends here. That's exactly what your website's supposed to do. Okay, let's try to guess. What if I click on, let's see if I can have something good here. Whatever, I'm gonna click here. If I click on this website, what do you think the URL is going to change to? You're obviously not going to be able to guess, right? But just think about what do you think this URL should change to, and see if you're somewhat close. What do you notice about the URL?
It's more granular. It's got an identifier.
Yeah, it's way more granular. So let's break it down. We know the main base URL is this, right? Then we know that if we search automated services, it's AOS, like I told you earlier, right? And then D, I have no idea what the D stands for. I'm sure internally they know. I don't know. Doesn't matter, right? But then it goes to this specific web page, right? This is actually, right? It pulls this information from the form that the person who created it. Does that make sense? So when someone posts something on Craigslist, Craigslist effectively just creates a template HTML and then shows it to the user as the end part, as like the last part of that URL. It says, hey, if you posted something with an automated services, right, attach it to the end of the URL. This is just a template string. Remember template strings? And attach their form to the end of URL. And that's the path. Does that make sense?
So does each item on Craigslist have a view?
Yes. But remember, their view is going to be based on just their form. So when you fill out something on Craigslist, and I've actually never analyzed Craigslist that much, but I figured it was going to be an easy one to do. But when you post something on Craigslist, I think what they're doing is they're just taking all the information from the post, right? Using an HTML template, pumping it into an HTML template, and then just concatenated it to the URL. And they dynamically create those URLs. So it's automatic. Questions? Go back. That's it. This is, give me 1 second. Let me post this. Create a pseudocode. Actually, let me pull this up. Last thing. What haven't I done with this API? If I build all this out, this all works locally, right? I haven't done what? Someone tried to bring it up at the beginning. They were talking about Docker Compose or something. I can then Dockerize it if I want.
The make migrations and migrate for it to function?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do this after you install the dependencies and everything and build your project and import everything. You can do it then. But really what I wanted to focus on here is I didn't talk about Dockerizing your API endpoint, right? But then you can proceed to Dockerize it. That's what I would do it. That's how I would do it. I think a lot of the times people get confused because they think they try to do both things at the same time. And that's really confusing. So you need to figure out what's going to work best for you. Do you want to create the API endpoint and then Dockerize it, or do you want to do it at the same time, which is harder? Does everyone understand that?
You say if it's locally, is there any other choice than that? Or like,
What do you
for
mean?
example, I think GitHub has got a remote that we could do VS Code through GitHub, right? It has an option on like Replit, something like that. We could work on that in the cloud, right? Like we could actually do everything not locally but remotely, or is we have to do this locally always?
I would do it locally, especially when you're learning.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just asking. I just want to have a
Developing
better
remotely, it's a
understanding.
pain in the ass.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Develop everything locally always. I don't know how that question is relevant to what we're doing necessarily. But yes, if you're curious about it, always develop locally. It's actually sometimes you get into a situation when you can only develop on like a VM or something, and that sucks. Because a lot of the times you don't have access to the normal tools that you're used to. And it's just a lot more hoops to jump to, and it's just harder to develop. Just the iterations are longer. That's all. Alrighty. Do you guys have any specific questions? Where is everybody? Is everyone still more or less working through School API 5?
Yeah, I'm still right at the start of API 5. I think I fell behind on Saturday when we had the exam, and then I
Oh, okay.
was working through API 4. But I think part of the gotcha on API 4 is there's a lot of kind of unspoken bugs for you to resolve, and I didn't really understand what the problem was. And
Mhm.
so I took a lot of time to resolve those once I actually understood that that was kind of the missing component. And then yeah, I'm
What
just
was the missing component? Because it might help other people.
there's a lot of validation missing. Like the test is gonna say like, oh, it's got to be like this, but there's nothing in your code like a validator, or there's something missing from the models. Like there's something missing from several different places, it seems like.
Okay.
So mainly you really have to work from those tests and see like what is it saying failed, and then try to figure out why that failed. And oftentimes, yeah, it was just there's nothing in your code actually saying that this has to be a float versus an integer, or there can't be more than 7 classes for each student, right? There's no validation happening there.
Gotcha. Okay. Would it make sense for people to? I think it was Scott. I think Jordan finished your API School 5. Is that the one that I just cloned?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my tip to everybody. If you can get your API 4 up to School API 5, if you can get there, definitely do it. However, if you're completely lost, I would start with Scott's API 5. Try to understand it, get it up and going. And even Scott's API 5 is not going to get up and going right off the bat. There's a couple things that need to be improved. And then work on API 5 going into 6. So everyone here should either be pretty close to getting API 5 working, right? Or just start at 5. Does that make sense? Don't waste your time on anything before that. That's what I would say. Make sense?
One other thing that I think was kind of unspoken and I didn't really understand that held me up was there's like the start project and the start app commands in Django.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was feeling behind and I was trying to keep up with what the lecture was doing. And it was like, okay, I don't know, make instead of just the Pokemon app, we're making a moves app, or I can't remember what it was, but it was something like that. And I didn't really remember what I was supposed to do to start things off. So instead of going start app, I manually tried to make all of the like the directory and each file, and that does not work at all. Like, so I made a folder called move app, and then I made a file called, I did that. And it was a lot more work too, but I just couldn't remember like how to do it. So I just in a panic just manually did it. And it was like, I don't know if it was like the table of contents of Django had no idea that those things existed, or I don't know
That's
what
probably
happens.
what it was, yeah.
But I was like, this doesn't work, and now I just did a bunch of extra work, and I'm even further behind. So
Yeah. So kind of a weird thing in software engineering, how a lot of that infrastructure works is if the command that creates it didn't create it, then it can't track it. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. So let's say you launch some kind of infrastructure and you delete a folder that was named the same thing, but then you rebuild it, it might not be able to find it because the initial thing that it built, it deleted. So somewhere in its metadata, it has some identifier that says, hey, that thing is gone. And even if you named it the same thing, it won't pick up on it. That's a big thing of like, I think it's called independency on the cloud. A little bit of that. Yeah, it's confusing as hell. I'm glad you figured that out now, though. Okay, does everyone have a plan forward? Did anybody get to School API 6 by chance? Okay, this is what I'm going to do. We're going to go on a 20-minute break here shortly, but when we come back, I want you to work individually for like 30, 40 minutes, see how far you can get. And ideally, at the end of like maybe 40 minutes, we'll have someone that can demonstrate a working School API 5. So we can then spend a little bit of time to get to API 6. Okay? All right, it's 6:16. Let's be back at 6:36, and then we'll work on API 5. We'll get a little bit of time on API 5.
Good to go.
All right, guys, try not to get frustrated that the progress is a little slow. The curriculum can be a little bit better. We've already made some notes to kind of improve it. Definitely it needs to lead you a little bit better. But I kind of wanted to come back and debrief how you should be dealing with the tests on School API 5. I think we're going to walk through one of them together and see if we can solve it. And this is kind of how you should go about it. It's going to give you some iterations on kind of piecing together this DRF API endpoint. Does that make sense? Yes? All right. Did anybody get any of all the tests by chance? I know there's like a bunch, right? There's like 23 or something, 22, something like that. Did anybody get half of them passing? I'd rather someone present rather than myself, but was anybody able to get at least 2 or 3 in the time you were given? If you didn't, no worries. We're going to walk through one right now. All right. So after you got this going, right, and you're able to get your API up, you could run your test, right? And everyone saw something like this. Yes? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's just take it one by one. Let's just look at this one right here, test 23. It says grade with incorrect, and how kind of this curriculum is written, guys. After you get it up and running and everything works like it's supposed to, and you run this test and you fail a bunch of them, just take them one by one. Typically, the test will be correct, but what will you have to do to get the test to pass? Does anybody know? This is kind of the approach they want you to take here.
Fix the function that it's calling.
Yes, you need to fix or complete the functions that are being called within the test. And if you go to those functions, you're going to notice that there's like pass or there's like some comments made. It tells you how to solve it, but you need to implement the logic yourself to get that test to pass. That's how you know you did it right. Right. I mean, every now and then there'll be a mistake on the test, and I know that's happened before. But right now, this is how you should tackle it. So let's look at test 23. It says grade with incorrect grade format test model. It says grade with incorrect grade format. Okay.
So this is actually from API 4. So a lot of these tests that are failed right here, this is what I struggled with on API 4.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember how to solve it? You can walk me through it.
I think on this one, it was a matter of it looking like a float versus an integer.
Okay, let's walk me through it.
Yeah.
Walk me through it. Where is it?
So this one is in the grade model, I think.
Okay, grade app. It's going to be grade models. And the issue here is?
Right here. Oh, actually, let me see. So I'm actually going to look back 'cause it's been a minute since I dealt
No
with
worries.
this. So the max validator is 100 and not 100.0.
Okay, wait, give me a second. The max validator is 100, not 100.0. So what needs to get fixed? Let's try not to edit the test. Let's try to edit the logic. Let's just assume the tests are right.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we do it?
So I actually just changed the validators to, like, I guess floats, right? 1.0 and 100.0.
This?
Yep. And I think that was it. The default also I changed to a float.
Okay. So what you are telling me that if I go look at this test, let's go do it. Where do I go for my tests? I go to tests and I go to test models. Logan?
You're gonna go to the test folder and then open it. Yep, testmodels.py.
Okay, so if I go in here, you're going to tell me that when I look at test 23, it's going to be validating using floats. And that's the reason why this test is failing.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, let's go to test 23. I got to search for it. But let's go. Here we go. It's here. This is test 23. It says, hey, grade, grab objects. And what do you notice about line 380?
It ain't an int.
That's the issue. All right, nice job. So we made them all floats. Guys, if there's any arithmetic done with a float and an int, it's always a what? Even if it's even numbers, it's always a what?
Float.
Float.
Float,
Float.
always, 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 always. Keep that in mind. It's just like when you take user input, it always comes into your application as which data type?
String.
String, yes. You see those two things? You just have to have them memorized at this point. Make sense? Okay, so now we run the test, we should have one less error. And we notice that our first error, ooh, we're still getting this error here.
The,
Oh, there's a second part of this error. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. It's
Okay.
good.
So let's fix it. So what's the other issue here?
I think it's actually, you see where it says grade, ensure this value is less than or equal to. I think you actually have to throw that specific error where it says like raise exception. It's got to actually say that.
Okay, and I make that adjustment where?
It's on. Oh, actually, I can't remember. Give me a sec.
Validators.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's
So we go to validators where exactly?
project folder.
All
No,
right, let's.
never mind. Nope, it's not there. Never mind.
Anyone else?
Under migrations.
Under migrate. Where's that? Oh, all right. Under migrations, and I go where?
Validators.
To validators.
I don't see validators anywhere.
change that float field to a decimal field. Data
Float. Where?
Line 6.
Okay. Change what to what?
So float field, there's another
Uh-huh.
data type called decimal field. And you can limit the number of decimals because the test is showing 3 decimal places.
Uh-huh.
And that's why it's failing because that's not a valid number. It should only be 2 decimal places. So
And why is that, Scott?
Because that's how the test is written.
But that's also how the language is what?
What do you mean?
That might be a constraint of the language, is it? A float can only be 2 decimal places, and then a decimal can be more? I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Okay,
I just
but
know
it
that
could be. It could be a constraint. Okay.
Yeah, I just know that the test showed 3, but generally there's somewhat one of the other tests showed 2.
Okay.
And
So you're saying that this fixes it.
almost.
Okay.
Inside of your parentheses, you have to add max digits equals 5. You can't use 4 because 99.99 would be the last one that you can do. So you would do max digits, max underscore digits
Max underscore digits, what?
equals 5,
Equals 5?
comma, decimal underscore places equals 2.
This?
I have it at the front, like in front
It
of you,
won't matter.
but I'm not sure if it matters.
It won't matter here, but I am getting this squiggly here.
You missed the L on decimal. I don't
Decimal.
know if that's why, but
So this is throwing a squiggly. So it says expected comma found equals.
Max underscore digits equals 5, comma. Yeah, that's exactly how I have it, and it is
Copy and
work.
paste yours and send it to me on Slack.
I did. It's in the Zoom
Oh.
chat.
It's in the Zoom chat. Let's see. You gave, let me see this. Grade. Wait, what? Okay, this. Let's see if this works. Okay, so you have, let's see if I can get it right and copied it right. That looks copied right?
Yeah, I think it was that square bracket on the end.
Okay, cool. Let's run it again. Closer. What's the issue now?
I think now it's back to the what Logan was saying, where that's or Logan or Nick was saying, where that error message has to match, right?
Yeah, I just can't remember what file it's in because I thought it was in a validators file, but I can't
But
find it.
what do you notice here though after those changes that instead of one error, now we're getting what?
Two errors. There's a comma there and a second
Yeah,
error.
we're getting two. We don't want to really increase the number of errors we need to solve, right? It'd be dope if we could just solve it. Now, if I run this again here, I'm only going to actually get one. What happened here? Oh, this. All right, let's try that again. If I run this again, we notice that line, what do you notice here? Here. How many errors do I have?
Just the one again.
Just the one
It
again.
says
So it's going to be easier if we
WS.
just fix this.
I think you just create a validators file in the grade app folder.
In the grade app, is there any other validators anywhere else?
There's one in the student app.
All right, let's go validators. Here we go. Which of these do you want to copy? Just this one? All right, so there's one in the student app, right? So what you're saying is inside of our grade app, we create a validators file? Yeah. Like this? Is this right? Whoever was saying that? Is it giving you the error right here? It's giving you the error, right? I copied it wrong there. But yeah, we can just do. It's giving you the error, right? That's what it wants?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now help me fix this. Because this is simple, just a simple if else, right? If name is valid, if, well, what are we validating here?
Grade.
Valid grade, cool. Great. Valid grade, and then we're going to return grade. Perfect. And then here, it's not a name, it's a what? Is that right?
Yes, you just have to change it on line 9 as well.
Yeah, but I'm validating grade though, so I actually don't need any of this. All right, so now what? I know that valid grade is what? How do I validate grade? What are they checking? What's going to be passing this function? How about that?
If it's 100.0 or less.
Right.
Okay.
Greater than or equal to 100.
Grade is greater than or equal to? 100, 100.0.
Yes, but you have to do it less than or equal to. It's gotta be reversed.
This?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so I messed this up, this error message here. So let's go back here and validators, error message. Ah, okay. So I'm missing this. I could actually, doesn't really matter. This string can be, what is it? Grade must be less than 100.0. Sound good? What was reused for? Oh yeah, I was using regex there. Don't actually need this import, not using it. All right, does validator work? Yes?
Yes, but do you gotta import the validation error into models?
All right, let's look at validators here. Okay, these are just validation things. And if I go into models, is it imported?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So cool. There we go. We're doing it the right way here. Okay. So now we have this validator. We're going to validate here in grade app, right? So I'm going to have to go to my models and hey, this is already imported. Sweet. Now what? Why don't we pull them next to each other? This is the other validator, right? Or the other, why don't we just check the models? Here we go. This is student app right here on the right, models. And this is my grade app right here on the right. All right, what am I missing here? How do I want to validate?
I guess you have to add it on a grade. Oh,
Do I still need
not
to import from validators? Is that what I have? Validators import what? Validate what grade? Is that what I have?
Grade. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. From validate grade. Okay, so where does validate grade go?
Within the parentheses for grade.
Yep, because that's what you're validating. All right, so now I can go in here, I believe. This is getting kind of weird. Hold up. I'm going to pull this out. Validators here, here, here. And then I can validate this and validate not
Grade.
name, but
Grade.
grade. Let's see if that works. Grade. Is that right? Yes.
You could actually change the validator to be the grade is greater than 1 and greater than or equal to 1, less than or equal to 100.0. And then you could delete the minimum and maximum value within that line.
I could, but refactoring is for closers and we're not there yet. Okay. Let's just pass one test. Are we good? This works, right? All right. Anything else? Can I run it? Let's check. What is this error telling me?
Doesn't accept a grade over 100.
Yeah, but my test is still not passing, right?
Yeah.
Line 384 in test models. Line 384 in test models. Line 384. What function's failing?
Full clean.
Full clean. And full clean does what?
Make sure it passes all the validators.
Yeah, it makes sure that it passes all the validators, and it's not passing all the validators because
It's not on grade.
The grade's 1500 something.
yeah, the grade is too big. So how do we get this to pass then?
Change the grade in your test.
All right.
Increase the max validation in the model.
Let's change this test. You're not supposed to do this, but let's check if we can get past it. If this is 15.1 or 15.9, does this pass? Let's hope. Yeah. Let's see. Did it pass?
It looks like it.
Yeah, it passed. Okay, so the issue here is this freaking number. 1598, 756. All right. So if it's between 1 and 100, right? If it's a float, it works, it passes, but our test keeps failing because this function fails the validator test. And when we go up here, what does this tell us? Right here. What's wrong?
Max validator.
Because the number's too big, it doesn't allow you to add the grade.
Yes. So what should this test do?
Throw an error.
Yeah, it's rejecting the bad data, right? So it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, right?
Well, then it's not making it to the accept down there.
Yeah, it's not making it to the accept. It's crashing right here. How do we fix it?
I'd probably find my nearest senior dev at this point. It's been
Does grade full clean require it to have a clean passing test? I guess I don't know if I'm saying the right words.
Yeah, it
So
is.
can you just
If you just
so
get
can you-
stuck here, just get stuck here for right now, right? It's a bad written test. We'll just get past it.
I was say, can you comment out the grade full clean?
No, why do you always have to run the full clean? Anyone?
That's what's verifying you have valid information going into that test itself.
Correct. All right. For right now, just modify it. Let's get past it. Let's do one more. Let's do one more because that was not that great of an example. Let's do number 7, test 7. We got past that one. And guys, if you need to do that for one of the tests because you're kind of stuck, try not to be stuck for more than like 20, 25 minutes. Right? And move on. Let's look at test 7. Hopefully this one will be easier. Test 7. All right, here we go. Test 7 is saying, hey, student with repeated student email. Let's look at the error. What's the issue here?
There's two entries that break the unique value validator rule.
Yeah, this is my email at school. It looks like it's violating the duplicate or the unique, which is a unique violation. Yeah. All right. So this is the test case, right? You know that this failed. We see the test case. Where would you look next?
The student model,
Student model. Why do you say that?
because that's where we're validating the student information.
Perfect. Student model. And we look at what?
Personal email.
Which part of line 10 is making it fail?
Unique.
Which one, personal or student email?
Student,
Student.
How do you know that?
because the error says it's a duplicate student email.
Yes. You read it right here, right? And I can go look to this right here and go look at your test. Right there. Student email, right? So that's what's failing. So this should do what?
Should throw the accept as well.
Yes, it should, right? Does it?
No.
How come?
I would guess because full clean doesn't pass again, but it's not calling that out.
Correct. Right? This full clean's failing, right? How could you guarantee that this test passes?
Put it before it.
No. Could we edit the student email to figure out that that is what's supposed to be happening?
Should we erase the unique part? Maybe.
You could, if you wanted to play with it a little bit. If you remove this, does the test pass?
I could try it.
So test 7 should pass here, right? Let's go. Did it pass?
Is there a function at the bottom of the student model that's also enforcing this?
Let's look. No, I don't think so. This is a student model, right?
Yeah.
So wait, we put in the false here, but what about the database? Don't we have to drop the table? Do we have any info in there too that had nothing to do with it?
No, you change the
Mm,
model, so make migrations, right?
True.
Very good. That's it. That's all I wanted to leave it there at that. Can you explain that, whoever that was? Was that you, Logan?
That was all Leon. I just reinforced it.
All right,
No, I
Leon,
was
explain the issue here.
it says unique, so it's supposed to be unique. I mean, it's supposed to end on the same email, right?
Yeah, but why
That's
didn't
what
it?
I mean.
Yeah, I understand that, but when I removed the unique and I reran my tests, it should have passed and it failed. Why did it fail?
We haven't done the migrations. Python make migrations and then migrate.
You have to update what?
We have to add the model, right?
Yep. Yep. You have to update the models here, right? That's what happened. But this should pass. These tests are kind of a little funky, but that's how I would go about figuring out what needs to be worked on, right? And solving all of them. We definitely need to put a little bit more work into these tests, though. I didn't do this, but I would definitely recommend just tackling them one by one. Right here, you got to scroll a lot. Just if you're failing test 7, just comment out everything but test 7, and then kind of work through it that way. Make sense?
Hey, speaking of these tests, Guillermo, so I keep failing a whole bunch of them for one specific reason. And it's on school API 2, the locker number had a default constraint of 110. But then on 4, the locker number default constraint is dropped to none. But a lot of the tests are still throwing a fit whenever they don't see a locker number in there.
Just add it or delete that test. That's an oversight in whoever wrote the curriculum.
Cool.
Make sense?
Just want to point out this is all still API 4. We haven't gotten to API 5.
Yes. Let's look at. Wait, I'm using API 5 now. So you're saying the tests we've covered are API 4? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the prep work. So when I started API 5, I was
Mhm.
like, oh shit. And I went back through, like, actually, I think Scott said, and yeah, this is actually the API 4 homework, which was Saturday, which was the assessment. So that's, I think, why we all fell behind, was we were trying to pass these tests. And
Okay.
like, I never progressed, basically.
Yeah, no worries. What would be most beneficial right now? Actually, I don't actually think we should cover third-party APIs. I think we're going to push that to Saturday, and I just give it to whoever's teaching Saturday and continue with school API 5 and 6. Do you guys need a little bit of time to look at API 5 before we cover 6? Or do you want me to do a brief overview of the homework for 6?
I had an issue with API 5 because we were trying to get the endpoint to basically combine the information from a student with their grades as well. And I didn't really know how to approach that. That was my understanding of what I was seeing, it because it said like it wants to be formatted like such, and then it gives you like the student's information, and then nested in the student is their like the classes and their grade. And I don't think we've ever seen like a nested class before. I looked it up and kind of like started to make some progress.
Can you walk us through this? That's actually a good use of our time. Can you walk us through the issue and we'll try to go over it together?
Yeah, so
Because I'm sure you're not the only one. Can you share your screen?
Yeah. Let me make sure I've got the right. I think okay. Share this one. So it helps to also kind of reference the curriculum because it's kind of easy to miss. But essentially, it's just saying make an endpoint, and this is what it's going to look like. This is the format. Making the first part's really simple. Like actually, I think if you just take Scott's working example, you can get that right away. But the thing is, it's also nested. It's got the class and the grade, which is in another application. And I don't think of course we've done relational database work before where we have the primary keys and foreign keys, but in Django, I don't think we've seen that. And so I had to look it up, and it was basically a nested class, like a class within a class using something like the meta. The name had to be meta for some reason. I've never seen that before. But let's see, that's so specifically gonna be in was it the views that I was working? No. Let's see, which folder do I have open? Okay, so student views. So you can see I kind of messed with this. I got this all back to where we started with Scott, so this should match what you're looking at. And then so this one here. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to find where I was. Oh, here it is. Okay. So the serializers, this is another part where I kind of feel pretty weak because I was using the curriculum example for serializers and it didn't match. And I noticed that in Scott's example, there's like a custom serializer that doesn't follow the format of the curriculum at all. So that also took me a while to figure out that the curriculum type of serializer wasn't really a good fit for this. And I think it was because I was trying to get this relational database working. But what I was talking about is you see there's a nested class within the topmost class here. And that was necessary. Like if I ping this on Postman, that was necessary to get the format to match what the assignment's actually asking. And that alone took quite a while for me to figure out how to do. So like if I switch what I'm sharing, I don't know how to switch it to Postman. I think it's this one. So if you see here, it's now got the name of the person and their classes and their grades nested. Still not actually perfect, but I just noticed like from where we left off, like in Scott's example, it wasn't actually providing this data down here. And that was kind of the trick to it, was having that nested class. I don't know if there's another way to do it, but that was the only way that I could find.
And that wasn't inside the README.
No, I've never seen this before. It could be something I missed, but I've gone over the curriculum a couple times trying to figure out the general format of how to do all of these. Because like the URLs, the view, and the serializer kind of all came at us at once. So I was like, okay, maybe I missed it, but I don't think I saw it. Scott, have you seen it in the curriculum?
No, I had to look it up.
Yeah, I had to look it up as well. I had no idea.
I think it's because it's part of the way that Tiffany was showing us how it's not part of the README, but it was easier to do because instead of having to take the data from a binary to a string and then JSON, it was able to use Django framework, the shortcut to go directly to JSON. So like, I think it just made more sense because that was the one she put out for like Forge.
Yeah. Yeah, she said, hey, if you guys want to see like another way to do it, that's in my opinion better. Yeah, I did watch that, but honestly, I was just super confused because we got taught like the kind of standard way that's in the curriculum, and then she kind of undermined it a little bit. But then I just didn't really know the format of the way she showed us. And I think that's probably what you use, Scott. But I was like I was kind of like, okay, this is way different. So that's why my was it my views? Yeah, you can see all the commented out stuff. I kind of followed the curriculum model and it didn't work at all for this example that we were approaching. So then I just went with what Scott had, and that seemed to be a better fit.
Okay. Great question. Great question. I'm going to try to explain this to the best of my ability. You can stop sharing your screen, Logan. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anybody know what the difference is between the OG example that they originally, I think it might have been Jordan that taught you, and then the example that Tiffany taught you? Does anybody understand where each of the two approaches are coming from? Because I think conceptually it's important to understand this. Now, both of them will work, but one of them comes from a certain place and the other one comes from a slightly different place.
So one of them comes from the native Django framework and the other one's from the Django REST framework, right?
Yes. And Django REST framework is actually just an abstraction, one level higher than OG Django. And it has a little bit of syntactical sugar on it, which makes it easier to read, easier to write. Does everyone understand that? Both will work. The old way of looping through the objects to get the nested views, Logan, pain in the ass, right? But if you almost kind of don't understand that that's how it works, you're not going to really appreciate DRF and the way that they do it. Does that make sense?
Sort of. I mean, it was good to at least have the example to follow,
Yeah.
but I just pivoted a little bit to make it conform because I also kind of had like Frankenstein code there for a second.
Yeah. No worries. And you're going to come to realize that this is actually pretty common, especially if there's an application that you work on that's really old, that has kind of been through a lot, been through the ringer. You're going to notice, right, that a lot of the code is older, and then some of it has really new code, and then it's attached to something else that's like, maybe 20 years old, attached to something that's 2 months old, attached to something. Happens all the time. And you end up exactly with what you said, Logan, this like Frankenstein code base that actually pretty common in applications that have a long lifespan, right? So conceptually, everyone has to understand the question here. You can use the DRF version, or you can use the OG version. Which one seems easiest for you guys? And that's the one that I'm going to tell the instructor on Saturday to go over.
The OG what version?
There's the Django version,
Okay.
and then there's the DRF version, right?
Okay.
And that's what Tiffany told you. Which one makes the most sense to everyone?
I think what would be helpful is if they were both in the curriculum. Because honestly, like when I do the homework, I always reference the curriculum because the answer's in the curriculum
Yeah.
usually, right? It's like we just went over this, and usually those are the tools we're going to use to solve the homework. But in this homework, I was like, man, I don't think I can solve it if I look at the curriculum. Or I couldn't. I tried. So
All right, I'm writing this down. I'll post it in the instructor channel here shortly.
Also, Guillermo, is there a way you could share a copy of whatever you have there so I could work and focus only in the test? Because I still have
Yes,
to implement things.
I'll drop the zip of my working one right now.
Okay.
Let me
Thank you.
write this down. Drop zip of working school API 5. Boom. Okay, gotcha.
So
Go ahead.
The second part of the question was just I guess I kind of answered it or kind of walked through it, but the nested class within a class, and it has to be called meta apparently. Is that like a Django thing, or
It's a DRF thing. It's not a Django thing.
Okay.
It's just the syntax of DRF. And what's kind of confusing is DRF is just an abstraction of Django, right? Yes, it is. Right.
Would it be like saying, all right, there's a way to get a grid or a location. You could manually do it through a map, go down whatever squares, go to the right, do all that stuff, or you just look at a GPS and get it.
Kind
And
of,
the
yeah.
GPS
One's a
the
little
GPS is
easy.
like that.
Yeah, but maps and GPS are completely different, right? A map is static. A GPS is dynamic. So they're not apples to apples.
So I think another example that I ended up using and finding, I missed the requirement on the curriculum, like for the homework page, that if an endpoint wasn't found, it needed to return a 404, not just the default Django one. And they call it a Django shortcut, I guess, and it's part of the REST framework, and it's literally called get object or 404. And so it was one of the first things that popped up whenever I started looking at the documentation, and it kept me from having to write that loop and just able to use the easier way to do it, I guess. And that's how I've been like looking at the REST framework, is it's just like easier. It's like playing on easy instead of medium.
Yep. So I am going to post in our channel. We're going to include both. Because Tiffany did a good thing by introducing you to DRF. And actually, all you guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Just get comfortable with DRF, actually, because that's what you're going to use for your personal project and your group project. That's what everyone uses. So it's good to understand the OG way of doing it, but it's almost better at this point just because it's easier and it's what you're going to use in the personal project and the group project. Just get comfortable with DRF. And I know we screwed up. DRF is not in the curriculum, right? Just Tiffany showed it to you because she was advocating in our channel, actually, hey, this is better. We should include this. right? So we'll make a note of that. I already have. Make sense? Get comfortable with DRF because that's what you're going to use. Let's just stick with that. That's going to be easier for you. Yes? Okay. So we're going to cut out a little early today to give you some rest. And actually, I'm not going to cover third-party APIs because I don't want to rush through it. But we'll go. We have a lot of time. It's going to be fine. We're going to go ahead and push that to Saturday. We're going to bump the curriculum a little bit. Let me just write a note here.
So what do you paste that? I don't see it in the Slack.
I haven't. I'll do it right after I get off.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
cool.
All right. So before I cut you loose, I know this hasn't been that easy. And guys, this has been probably the most challenging lesson so far. Right? Not easy to follow, confusing. Right?
Yeah, I didn't even have any time to put in smart ass remarks in between all
Yep.
this.
Super normal. It happens all the time. This one's tougher than some of the other ones. Okay. I just want to leave you with this idea, and conceptually, I hope you kind of understand it, right? So let's go back to the beginning, right? What is a framework?
It's a way of a way of how you are going to get at, I guess, like procedures of how you're going to get something, execute something.
Kind of, but
Right.
just give me the down and dirty. The definition I always give you, a framework is just what? It's like a library, it's like a module, it's just what? What is it?
Someone else's code.
Yeah, someone else's code. Okay, so you
Gotcha.
have a regular code, and then you have a framework or a module or a library, right? Whereas people write a bunch of code and they package it, and you can download it onto your application and use it, right? Yes? So Django is a framework. So what the hell is DRF?
Inception.
Yeah, it's Inception. You got it. It's a framework of a framework. Remember when I talked about layers of abstraction? And you just keep going to a point where you really can't abstract something anymore because it's just point and click. Right? That's why it's super important to understand like kind of the bare bones of how something is built. Because if you just learn an abstraction, you can't really fix a problem at the same level, right? Typically you have to go deeper. Has anyone ever heard that? You typically can't solve a problem at the same level that the problem was created. You can't. So that's the weird thing about abstractions. It's really important to understand kind of how things work under the hood. That way you'll be a better debugger. You'll be better at reading stack traces and you'll be a better dev, right? If all you deal with is abstractions, it's going to be really hard for you to solve anything, honestly.
So for me on this, on school API 1 through 6 or 3 really is where I was getting up to. I understand the entire objective for the week was, installing an application with Docker and Django, basically what Django did, and how all those kind of work together. I think where I was struggling this week was going from was the intent. I think there's some minor little mistakes in the code that I was trying to fix. But was that the scope, or not the scope, but was that the intent of the week? Was it trying to fix the test mainly, or was it trying to see how? Because I think on this one, on like the one we were using tonight, there was the 3 different apps, and we're looking at the different settings and models for each one. And so when the test failed, we're trying to figure out which model was going. Was that the overall intent? Was trying to figure out why the test fell?
So some of the tests weren't very good, so that was a little misleading. Overall, really the objective is for you to build an API using DRF. That's it. And you actually don't need the test. They put a lot of emphasis on the test, and some of the tests aren't that good. But how else could you test it? Let's say I told everyone right now, hey, ignore the test file. How are you going to check that your API works like it's supposed to work? Tell me.
Just go to the URL.
That's it, dude. Just go to
Yeah.
URL. If you go / students, hey, does it show all your students? Here, give me 1 second. Dude, my computer is being real stupid right now. Give me a second. If I can even hit this. What was it? Can someone put in the chat? What was the endpoint for school API? Why am I blanking right now? Sorry, my computer's having a meltdown. Here we go. Thank you. I hope I have it loaded. I guess we're gonna find out. Give me 1 second. Dude, what is going on? Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Django. No, wasn't that. Can you see my screen? Oh. Right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Just read through the README. Hey, can you hit all the endpoints? Does it show all the data they're supposed to? If I go to students, that works, right? If I go to, what was the other endpoint? Classes? I can't spell classes. There you go. Classes. What was the other one? Was grades one of them?
Yes.
P- was it grades? I actually don't think I even finished this one. I don't think, but we can check it out. No, that works. Perfect. All right. So when you look at all of them, you can be like, hey, tests are great and everything, but if you can't figure it out, just ping them. Right. Use Postman or literally just pull them up on the browser. You know that, hey, this route works now. This is exactly what it's supposed to be. I know that when I go to classes, these are what? These numbers are what?
IDs.
Yeah, they're IDs to the classes that
Specific
student's
class.
in, right? Yep. There you go. So if I go in here, and I go to my classes, I go advanced Python, I got introduction to SQL, right? I know that, hey, students with a primary key ID of 1 and 5 are in this class. All right. I go to grades. There you go. I know that student with ID 1 that is in a class, which could be intro to Python, intro to SQL, whatever, has a grade of 95. There you go. I know it works. It'd be nice if I could get to test to work, but if I can't, I'm not going to worry about it. I know that I could just ping them. Make sense? Yes? And being resourceful, kind of figuring out like multiple ways to do things is actually really useful. I'll give you a real world example. There's a specific VM at work where I'm trying to test authentication, right? So when I deploy the application locally, I could just click authenticate and then authenticate with credentials, right? And I can do that locally, right? But in order for me to test it with a specific VM, I have to do it on AWS. So when I do it on AWS, right, I lose what? Here I have a little GUI and my browser, but when I try to do it inside a VM, what do I lose?
The visibility on it.
Yeah, I lose visibility. I can't click. What do I have to do? Write a script that crawls through the HTML, hits the endpoint, produces my credentials from another file, authenticates so I can check that it works. That's a pain in the ass, but that's what I have to do sometimes. Be easier if I could just click, right? Sometimes you get into weird situations like that. Like that's fine. That happened to me the other day. All right. Any just big questions about Django or DRF? So the main objective this week was just to create what with DRF?
Pain.
An API, right? So DRF, you're just creating an API, and an API is important because it will allow the user to communicate with what on your backend?
Your database.
A database. That's it. That's what you're doing with Django, right? And the API can do a bunch of different things, right? Just know that it can query your database. It can drop connections. It can do a whole host of different things, right? Based on how much traffic your database or your servers are receiving, you can redirect it, right, to different machines. It can do a whole host of different things. Right now, you're just learning a very basic APIs, but APIs are really powerful because they're the connectors between the user, right, and your servers and databases on the back end, right? They're kind of like the quarterback of an NFL team, right? The quarterback always has the ball in his hands, right, on offense. It's an API. It's going to direct all the traffic. It always has the ball in its hands. Right. I don't know if that was a weird analogy or not. It makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you. Guys,
I like it.
so some kind of a weird thing. Some people just build their entire careers just building APIs. Some people are just like, sometimes like at work, there'll be people that they're experts at fast API, right? And that's it. And they make a living because they're great at building amazing APIs. And anything you can do with an API, they know how to do it. Again, it's just like anything else. That's all I have for you guys. We're actually going to push third-party APIs to Saturday. I'll go ahead and put that in the calendar right now, and I'll make sure that we do a little more DRF, okay? Because that's what we're going to use in your personal projects. Yes?
Sounds good.
All right, dude. That's all I have. Have a good day.